How's it going, everyone? Simon here from CD Revival, and today I'm going to do a ranking video. First ranking video I've done for a long time, and I thought I'd come back with a bang with one of the greatest bands ever to have ever recorded music. Fantastic band, Van Halen. All superb musicians, great vocalists throughout the three different vocalists that they've had. And just an amazing set of albums, just quality from start to finish, really. Maybe bar one, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, 12 studio albums, which is not a vast amount considering their first album came out in 1978. Obviously Eddie Van Halen, rest in peace. But yeah, Alex Van Halen on drums, fantastic drummer. Michael Anthony, bass guitarist, and Wolfgang, Eddie's son. Michael Anthony for the majority of their output, to be fair. Great bass player, also great background vocals, really added a lot to their sound. And obviously Dave Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, Gary Cherone for one album, all great vocalists as well. A lot of people have their favourite eras. I'm, to be honest with you, no different. I think Van Halen, they were really two separate iterations regarding sort of Sammy and Dave. Just depends which you prefer, really. So, but yeah, all really good albums. But we'll start off with the number 12 album, and I think, to be honest with you, going to be most people's least favourite album, which is Van Halen 3, which came out in March 1998 and is their 11th studio album. Michael Anthony only plays bass on three tracks on this one. Eddie pretty much plays the bass on the rest of them, and also Alex Van Halen he didn't play drums at all on it. He was credited as playing drums, but he didn't. Eddie pretty much played the drums on it as well. So it's largely an Eddie Van Halen solo project, really, with obviously Gary Cherone on vocals. And yeah, really not a good album at all. To be fair, this is the only album of theirs that I really sort of struggle to listen to and don't really enjoy at all. It's their longest album as well, I believe. Usually their albums are fairly concise. This one, not so much. Not really a lot to say about it, apart from if you're a completionist, grab it and listen to it. But it's really not. The production's bad. Songwriting is not great. There's nothing really that good on here. Without You was a single. Fire in the Hole, probably Ballot or the Bullet, the passable tracks, but yeah, really not a good album. I say it will probably be most people's bottom of the barrel, and definitely is mine. So it's the only one that I don't enjoy listening to. Frank Cannonball Richards on the front was a vaudeville performer who would take cannonballs to his torso, and that's probably about the most interesting thing that you can say about it. But yeah, number 12 is Van Halen 3, and no major surprises there. Number 11 is Balance, which was their 10th album, came out in January 1995. Last album with Sammy Hagar on vocals. Not a bad album, this one. It's a bit more of a mature sound, if you like. I don't know how to do that, but I did. Yeah, a bit more of a mature sound. Not quite as fun as the rest of them. There's some good stuff on it. It's not a bad album, to be honest with you. When I first heard it, I didn't really like it. But it's got some good stuff on it. Can't Stop Loving You is a cool, yeah, very Van Halen-esque track. Seventh Seal's pretty decent. Amsterdam is quite a fun track as well. But yeah, it's a functional album. It's a good album, I suppose, but it's not amazing. It's got some good stuff on it, but produced by Bruce Fairbairn, who's done other stuff. But yeah, not a remarkable album, but you know, enjoyable enough to listen to. I still do enjoy listening to it. Number 10 I have got for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. A lot of people really rate this album. I do think it's a good album. It's got some good stuff on it. Pound Cake, the original single with its famous drill sound, is a really good track. Judgment Day's good. Spanked is okay. What else have we got? Run Around is pretty good. Yeah, it's got some good stuff. Pleasure Dome goes on a bit. In and Out, I do like. I think it's a really good track, but probably once again a bit over long. Man on a Mission. It's a good album. It's quite heavy. This was produced by Ted Templeman as well, which did all the classic Van Halen albums. But yeah, it's a good album, but it's not my favourite by a long stretch. But yeah, middle of the road, sort of the Sammy era. Still enjoyable. I remember when it first came out, I didn't really love it at all, but I did love Pound Cake. Pound Cake's an absolute, really a beast of a track, so really good, worth getting just for that. But yeah, ninth album, number 10 on my list. Next one I've got at number 9, I have got Dive It Down, which is Dave Lee Roth era album. This is their 5th album, came out in April 1982. The reason I don't favour this one, and it's got some really, really good stuff on it. This is the remastered version. It's got 5 covers on it. Where Have All the Good Times Gone is the first track, which is a Kinks cover. And that is a good track. It sounds just like a Van Halen song, if you like. Hang 'Em High is really good. You've got Cathedral, which is an instrumental, like, kind of, yeah, easily skippable. Secrets is quite good. Intruder, which is basically the intro to Oh Pretty Woman, which is a cover version, which is okay. Dancing in the Street I'm not a fan of at all. I didn't like any versions of this song particularly, and this one is a bit weird. Little Guitars intro, and then the track Little Guitars, that's really, really cool. Probably the best track on here. Big Bad Bittersweet William Now is kind of a bit of a vaudevillian kind of track, which is, you know, it's alright. Full Bug, good track. And then Happy Trails to finish off, which is just a sort of banter track, if you like. The studio tracks on here are decent. This one was rushed out. I think it was recorded in like 12 days because the record company wanted to keep them relevant. But yeah, if they'd have made, I don't know, a better album, it would have been better. But yeah, the covers kind of, I say they're okay, but there's kind of a lot of skippable stuff on here. So yeah, for the Dave Lee Roth era, this is easily their worst, my least favourite album. I do still enjoy listening to it, but I will skip Dancing in the Street and probably Pretty Woman all day long. So yeah, for that reason, still a good album. Don't get me wrong, I'm not slating Dive It Down. I think it's good, but it's my number 9. There's a lot better stuff from them to listen to. My number 8 is OU812, which is the second album with Sammy. A lot of people don't necessarily like this album. I do enjoy it quite a lot. I think it's got some really good stuff on it. This one came out in May 1988, so it's their 8th overall album. The track listing on the back of the CD is completely not how the track listing goes. But yeah, I think it's kind of alphabetical. Yeah, it is. Mine or Mine is the first track, and that's really good. You've got things like Black and Blue, which I think is my favourite song on the album. That is probably one of the best Sammy era tracks. Really superb track. Really do love that. Carbo Wabo I like. Feels So Good is really good. Finish What You Started I really like as well, although some people don't like that necessarily, but I think it's got a really cool groove to it. And When It's Love, that's really kind of, yeah, synthy kind of, it's not a ballad, but it's a synthy popish song, but still really catchy, really good track. Couple of filler tracks. Sucker in a Three-Piece I don't think is fantastic. Apolitical Blues is a cover version, I think. But still, a good, very enjoyable album, and yeah, I do like this one a lot. That's why it's my number 8, but still, lots of stuff that is better than that. Then we have number 7, Different Kind of Truth. This is the comeback album with Dave. Came out in 2012, sorry. So a big old like 14-year gap between Van Halen 3 and this one. This one is massively better than Van Halen 3. I remember when this came out and I thought it was good. I thought it was a real return to form. I hadn't listened to it for a while, and yeah, I've been blasting it quite a lot, and I think it's their heaviest album, 100%. It's kind of made up of like demos basically from, you know, older songs, but it sounds really fresh. The production's really loud, to be honest with you, and you know, most of the tracks are very, very heavy. Wolfgang Van Halen plays bass on this. This is the only one that Mike Langley doesn't feature at all. Starts up with Tattoo, which once again a lot of people don't like, but I think is absolutely fine. She's the Woman, You and Your Blues, both really good tracks. Chinatown, super heavy. Blood and Fire's really good. Bullet Head's another super heavy one. As is a really super heavy one. Really heavy riff at the start. Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, once again, Eddie just absolutely kills it on this album. His riffs are like super heavy and like, yeah, really good. Trouble with Never, Outer Space. You got Stay Frosty, which is basically Ice Cream Man Part 2. Big River is good. Beats Working's good. It's not really a bad track on here, I don't think. I think it's a really good banging album. As I say, it is a super heavy album. And I'm glad they did this one so that Van Halen 3 wasn't their final one. Yeah, not much else to say about this rather than, if you've not checked it out, check it out. If you checked it out maybe once or twice and didn't really dig it, then give it some more spins, because it's really, really cool. Vanished from streaming services for a while, but it's back on there now. There was some dispute, as I don't know, David Lee Roth's kind of slagged this album off as well, saying it was, you know, not very good, but I think it's really, really good. Excellent album, in fact. All the albums from now on are all absolutely stunning. To be honest with you, that one's an excellent album as well. My number 6 is 5150. This is from 1986, March 1986. This is the 7th album. First album with Sammy Hagar on vocals. 5150 is obviously the name of the studio, Eddie's studio, and also is the California law term for mentally unstable person. Very consistent album, start to finish, this one. No bad tracks on it, apart from maybe Inside, which is the last track. But everything else is really strong all the way through. Good Enough's a great start. You've got Why Can't This Be Love, which was the original single. Get Up, which is a heavy track, good fast paced, standard like Van Halen-esque track. I think that was the B-side of Why Can't This Be Love single. You've got Dreams, which is super synthy but still good. Summer Nights, great riff to start off with, really good track. Best of Both Worlds is a brilliant track. Love Walks In is another sort of lush synthy track, and you've got the title track 5150, which is good as well. But yeah, I think this was their first one to maybe go to number 1 in the US or something. But yeah, massive selling album, and easily the best for me of the Sammy Hagar era. Super consistent, and just I listened to this morning. Really enjoyable album to listen to. It's excellent. Right, top five. Top 5 are literally a toilet paper's width between them. They're all absolutely excellent, so there's no wrong order. If you sort of, you know, think, oh, how have you got that one at this one? You know, any of these could be number 1. They're all excellent albums. But number 5, I've got their first album, which, yeah, is a stunning first album for anyone. February 1978, this one came out. Ted Templeman produced. Yeah, it's, you know, putting this at number 5 is a little bit harsh, but as I say, they're all excellent albums, and they could all be number 1. They could, you know, interchange them as you will. But obviously this has got all their most famous tracks on it. Running with the Devil. You've got Eruption, which is, you know, obviously iconic. The Kinks cover, You Really Got Me. Ain't Talking About Love. I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, Atomic Punk. Yeah, just every track's an absolute An absolute classic. Feel Your Love Tonight, I think, is probably my favourite track on the album, to be honest with you. Little Dreamer, probably my least favourite track on the album. Ice Cream Man, On Fire. It's a superb album. Really changed how rock was basically at the time. And yeah, it's an absolute banger. And to have this at number 5 in the list just shows you how strong their catalogue was, going through the late 70s into the early 80s. But yeah, absolute stunning album. And that's Van Halen 1. That's my number 5. Number 4, I have got this one, Fair Warning. Another absolute stunning album. No real bad tracks on here. This one came out in April 81. This is their 4th album. Ted Templeman once again producing. Just loads of amazing tracks on here. Mean Street, Dirty Movies is incredible. Sinner's Swing is brilliant. Hear About It Later. So yeah, side 1, old side 1 is just flawless. Side 2 starts off with Unchained, which is probably one of my favourite tracks of all time of theirs. Push Comes to Shove, So This Is Love is amazing as well. But the only reason that it sort of is not higher is really the last 2 tracks, which is Sunday Afternoon in the Park, which is like an instrumental which leads into One Foot Out the Door, which I'm not crazy about, quite honestly. It's a bit of a weird one, but generally speaking, the album's only 31 minutes as well, I think, so not the longest, so that just slightly marks it down. Just the last 2 tracks really, but still the rest of it is absolutely stunning. Say side 1 is just incredible. It's just a fantastic album. So that's my number 4. Number 3, I've got Van Halen 2. March 1979. This is their 2nd album. I think they kind of brought this out quite quickly as well to capitalise on the success of the first album. Super consistent album, this one. There's just all the way through. There are no skippable tracks on here. So you've got You're No Good, Dance the Night Away, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, which is incredible. Bottoms Up, Out of Love Again, which is fantastic. Light Up the Sky, brilliant. You've got Spanish Fly, which is a kind of acoustic kind of eruption sort of thing, if you like. DOA, probably my favourite. Women in Love and Beautiful Girls is just flawless start to finish. There's no skippable tracks on this album. That's why it's at number 3. But, you know, to have a write-up like that and still only be at number 3 just shows you how good their stuff is. Number 2 is Women and Children First from March 1980. This is their 3rd album. Once again, absolute bangers start to finish really. And The Cradle Will Rock, Everybody Wants Some, which is fantastic. Falls, Romeo Delight, which is just amazing. You've got Tora Tora leading into Loss of Control, which is another super heavy, just a great track. Take Your Whiskey Home, which is good. It's probably one of the least good tracks on here, but it's still good. Could This Be Magic is another just slight drop, and in a simple rhyme, so keeps it off the top spot, but still a phenomenal album. Just super heavy, just amazing guitar work from Eddie. It's just a fantastic album. So that leaves my number 1 as 1984. Not everyone's number 1. Obviously, synth started to come into the music quite heavily. Well, not quite heavily, but on a couple of tracks there, quite synth based. This is the first Van Halen album that I ever heard. Obviously, being from the UK, they weren't as big before that in the UK, weren't as well known. It was only when Jump came out, I was like, 12 years old, that Jump came out, and that was, I thought that was fantastic. And yeah, this album obviously was my introduction to the band, so sometimes that does prejudice your views, if you like, but still this is an album that I can listen to over and over again. I still don't get sick of hearing Jump. I still don't get sick of hearing Panama. Got Top Jimmy, which is fantastic. Drop Dead Legs, which is probably one of their my favourite tracks of theirs of all time. Just a superb riff. Hot for Teacher, still don't get sick of listening to that. Fantastic drumming, fantastic guitar work. I'll Wait, which is a synth-based track, but is just still phenomenally good. Just a really good song. Girl Gone Bad, super heavy, just really cool riff on that one. And House of Pain, to finish off. Another short album, 33 minutes, but no time wasted. It's just start to finish, just amazing album. Yeah, check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure you've heard a bunch of stuff from it, but yeah, can't praise it highly enough. I think it's, you know, it's my number one. Still sounds great to this day, but yeah, what a phenomenal like discography they've got. Obviously, as you can tell by my ranking, I'm more in the Dave camp than Sammy. I think just Dave, they did change when he left the band. It became a different band. Sammy, I've got time for, man. I think he's a great singer. I like his stuff with Chickenfoot. I like Montrose. I like his solo stuff. But Dave's solo stuff, I think, is a notch above, and probably a notch above where what Van Halen became also, I think. I don't know. Certainly his first 2, maybe 3 albums, solo albums were, yeah, just exceptional. But that's just my opinion. You might have a different one. I've also got the Right Here, Right Now double CD live, featuring Sammy on vocals as well, and that's also pretty cool. They've done a couple of like compilations, which are Best of Both Worlds is really good, and that's got some new songs with Sammy on it, which I think I don't have that, but I think the new songs are pretty good. Up for Breakfast, I think, is particularly good, and they did another one with some Dave new tracks on it as well. I don't have that one either. But anyway, that's my Van Halen ranking. Let me know what you think, what your favourite albums are. I'm sure everyone's got their own favourites. But as I say, if you've got any of the 5 of my top 5 as your number 1, then I've got no real argument for that. Do you know what I mean? So fair dues. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the ranking. We'll go through the rest of the V stuff in my CD collection on the next video. Shouldn't be too far in the future. Not loads of stuff, but yes, a few decent bits to show you from there. And then we're on to W, which, as I explained before, then I've got a bunch of rankings like Whitesnake and Wasp and the Wild Arts as well, so for example. So something to look forward to, hopefully. Thanks all for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments, because it's always interesting to read, and I will reply back. And yeah, check out my other ranking videos if you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you all next time. Thanks for watching. Take it steady. Cheers.